You're not lazy. You just fell for the wrong idea about what change looks like. Most people believe transformation comes from something big, a dramatic decision, a brutal morning routine, a complete life overhaul. And when it collapses after 4 days, they tell themselves the same story. I'm just not that kind of person. I don't have the willpower. But that story is wrong. The people who actually have their lives together, the ones who seem calm, focused, quietly in control. They're not doing anything extraordinary. They're not running on some elite system that takes 2 hours to execute. They're doing boring things. The same boring things. Every single day. And that's the part most people completely miss. Think about it. When you picture a disciplined person, what do you see? Someone intense, driven, burning with motivation. But that version of discipline burns bright for a week and then disappears. Real discipline looks nothing like that. Real discipline is almost embarrassingly simple. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's honestly a little dull. And that's exactly why it works. Here's what I want you to sit with. What if the reason your life feels chaotic isn't because you're doing the wrong big things, but because you're skipping the right small things? What if the gap between where you are and where you want to be has nothing to do with motivation, and everything to do with consistency and action so simple you keep dismissing them? Hold that thought, because by the end of this, the way you see boring is going to be completely different. Your brain is a pattern machine. It constantly reads signals from your behavior and builds a model of who you are. Every time you do something, especially repeatedly, you're sending a message. This is who I am. This is how I operate. This is the kind of environment I live in. When your days are chaotic, different wake times, skipped meals, late night scrolling, a messy space, your brain reads all of that as one signal: unpredictability, disorder, low control. And it responds with more anxiety, more mental clutter, more of that vague feeling that something is always slightly off. Now here's where it gets interesting. When you start doing small, boring, consistent things, a glass of water every morning, a made bed, a walk after dinner, closing your phone at the same time each night, your brain registers all of it. Not as a routine, just as signal. Stability signal. Control signal. I'm someone who does what I say I'll do signal. And this is the part nobody talks about. You won't feel the change immediately. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like nothing, actually. You make your bed, and nothing magical happens. But underneath that silence, something is shifting. Your sense of self-trust is building. Your brain is slowly updating its model of who you are. And one day, usually when you're not even looking for it, you realize you feel different. More grounded. More like yourself. That's what boring does. It accumulates, like compound interest, invisible for a long time, and then suddenly, everything. Let me be honest. I used to hate this idea. When I was in the worst version of my days, sleeping at 2 a.m, skipping breakfast, living on coffee and good intentions, telling myself I'd get it together tomorrow. I didn't want to hear about drinking a glass of water. I wanted a real system. Something that sounded important enough to match how badly I wanted to change. That's exactly why nothing worked. The problem wasn't that I lacked the right system. The problem was that I kept looking for something impressive enough to take seriously. I kept dismissing the simple stuff as not enough. I kept waiting for the perfect framework, the perfect Monday, the perfect surge of motivation that would finally make everything click. But here's the truth. Transformation doesn't happen when you're inspired. It happens when you do something even when you don't want to. And the easiest things to do when you don't want to are the boring ones. The ones that take under 2 minutes and require almost no mental energy. That's not a consolation prize. That's the entire point. If this is landing for you right now, if you've been waiting for permission to stop overcomplicating this, subscribe. This channel is built for exactly that. Simple systems. Real habits. Quiet change in a normal life. No performance, no perfection. Just the stuff that actually works. Now here's what each boring habit is actually doing underneath the surface. A glass of water first thing in the morning. It's the first intentional decision of your day. Before your phone. Before your thoughts spiral. Before the day has a chance to happen to you. You do one thing on purpose. You tell your nervous system, I'm awake and I'm in control. 30 seconds. And it sets a tone that carries further than you'd think. Making your bed. It's a completed task before your day has really started. A visual signal of order in the one space that belongs entirely to you. Every time you walk back into your room, your brain registers. This is a controlled environment. This is not chaos. Not because of the bed itself, because of what it signals. A walk after eating. Not a workout. Just movement. 10 minutes. Blood sugar stabilizes. Your brain gets oxygen and a brief break from whatever loop it was stuck in. You've done something physical without turning it into a performance. No gym required. Just a walk. A consistent phone cutoff at night. This is the one most people resist most, and the one that changes most. Late-night scrolling isn't laziness. It's your brain searching for stimulation because it never got a real signal to wind down. When you give it a consistent wind-down window, even 30 minutes before sleep without a screen, you're not just improving sleep. You're breaking the cycle of mental overload that makes every next day harder than it needs to be. A 10-minute reset of your space. Not deep cleaning. Just returning things to where they belong, clearing surfaces, making your environment feel like a place a calm person lives. Clutter is not neutral. It sends a low-level disorder signal to your brain, and your brain responds with a background stress you barely notice until it's gone. None of these require motivation. None of them require you to feel ready. That's not a coincidence. That's the design. The habits that last are the ones you can do on your worst day. Tired, overwhelmed, behind on everything, and still do them. Because they're small enough that the cost of doing them is always lower than the cost of skipping them. Most people think consistency is a personality trait. You either have it or you don't. But that's not how it works. Consistency is a skill. You build it by practicing in the easiest possible conditions before you try it in hard ones. You don't start a running habit by signing up for a marathon. You start by running to the end of the street. You don't build a routine by attempting 10 habits on day one. You start with one thing, the same one thing, every day. And once that one thing is automatic, once your brain doesn't even have to think about it, you add another. Slowly. Without drama. Without a transformation announcement. This is how lives change. Not in moments of peak motivation, in the quiet accumulation of unremarkable days. The people who seemed to have it together didn't find a secret system. They just stopped waiting to feel ready. They got comfortable with boring. And boring, for them, became something else entirely. It became identity. It became trust. It became proof. Every boring habit you keep is a vote for the person you're becoming. You're not just making your bed. You're telling yourself, I follow through. You're not just drinking water. You're telling yourself, I take care of myself. You're not just putting your phone down at night. You're telling yourself, I am in control of my attention. Over time, those votes add up. Your self-image shifts. The chaotic version of you, the one who lives on autopilot, who says tomorrow, who feels vaguely out of control, starts to feel less and less like you. That's not motivation. That's identity built one boring decision at a time. Simple is not the same as weak. Boring is not the same as meaningless. Consistency is not the same as settling. Consistency is the highest form of self-respect. It's choosing your future self over your present comfort. Again and again. In the smallest possible ways, without waiting for a sign or a perfect Monday morning. So if you're sitting here thinking, I already knew this, it sounds too simple, I want to ask you one honest question. Are you doing it? Because most people who already know this aren't doing it. Knowing is easy. Showing up on a Tuesday when you're tired and nothing feels meaningful, that's the real work. Start with one thing, not 10. One habit that takes under 2 minutes. Do it tomorrow. Do it the day after. Don't announce it. Just do it. And then notice quietly how your brain starts to respond. Notice how the signal changes. Notice how something in you settles. That's not small. That's everything.